When I found out I was pregnant, I immediately envisioned a happy future with my beloved husband and our adorable child. I thought we could build a wonderful family together and live happily. Yet, I never expected that such a reality awaited me. This is a story of how I battled the worst, most domineering husband. My name is Eleanor. I'm 30 years old. My husband's name is William, and he's a 34-year-old office worker. We've been married for almost 2 years now. Due to the age difference, my husband tends to be a bit domineering. He's the one who sets all the basic rules in our house. When William and I were getting married, he told me that he wanted me to take care of the house as a homekeeper. I accepted that request. Although I have less disposable income than when I was single, there are some aspects that make me feel a bit uncomfortable. However, I can only feel gratitude towards my husband for providing for me. Originally, I had a tendency to be indecisive, so having a husband who handles everything efficiently was very reliable. That's why I thought it was just right for him to be a bit domineering. Then one day, I, who had nothing but my health, became unusually ill. I had a fever, and my whole body felt heavy. I was in no condition to do any housework. I told my husband, who was lying beside me, "Sorry, William, I'm feeling a bit under the weather." My husband then sluggishly got up.
"Is it a cold?"
he asked. "I think I will be fine, but my body feels a bit sluggish, since I can't get up. Is it alright if you just get yourself a casual breakfast today?"
"I see. For now, it's better to rest all day today. I'll be going to work, so if anything happens, please call your dad or mom."
It's not call me, is it? I felt a bit lonely, but my husband's company was in the midst of a busy season. Him suggesting that I contact my parents was probably his way of looking out for me. Both sets of in-laws lived nearby and always cared for us as a couple. I myself wasn't in a condition so severe that I couldn't move. After seeing my husband off, I decided to take it easy and rest for the day. However, my symptoms showed no signs of improvement, even after several days. Normally, a good night's sleep would cure it within a day, but this time, it had been 3 days and still no improvement. Even after a week passed, it was still no better. Even my husband, who is usually very composed, began to worry about my lingering health issues.
"Hey, Eleanor, maybe it's a good idea to go to the hospital."
"Yeah, you're right. I will go check it out tomorrow." The following day, I decided to get examined at the nearby general hospital. After the tests were done,
"You're pregnant."
"Huh?" I froze in shock upon hearing the news from the doctor. Pregnant? Me? Becoming a mother? I couldn't find the right words to express the incredible mix of joy and anxiety. For the time being, I returned home and decided to wait for my husband to come back. A few hours later, when my husband returned home, I told him about the fact that I was pregnant. "William, it seems like I'm pregnant."
"Huh? Pregnant?"
It must have come as a surprise because my husband's eyes widened.
"But you weren't feeling well, right? Could it be some illness?"
Nope. All the symptoms I had were actually morning sickness.
"Morning sickness?"
As I explained the symptoms, my husband furrowed his brow. Then, he started saying something insensitive.
"So, that means it's not an illness, right? Just that you were being a bit needy."
Needy? I didn't mean to come across that way.
"Well, morning sickness isn't really an illness, is it? Yet, you've been skipping chores and sleeping for a whole week. Isn't there any explanation besides being needy?"
It might not be an illness, but it was really tough, The feverish sensation and overall fatigue.
You can describe it in different ways. Besides, all pregnant women go through morning sickness. They've all experienced it. So don't make such a big deal out of it.
But the responses from my husband were completely unexpected. I had thought that getting pregnant would be met with joy first and foremost.
Anyway, starting tomorrow, make sure to take care of household chores just like before.
But I've had nausea since last night.
I don't care. Don't conveniently use morning sickness as an excuse.
No matter what I said, my husband wouldn't listen, and instead, he scolded me. Morning sickness is certainly not an illness. However, I was harboring a new life within me, and the burden on a woman's body is not to be taken lightly. Many men don't understand the hardships of pregnancy, but there were some insensitive words from my husband that I found hard to endure. Starting the next day, I did my best to handle household chores as usual. However, my body felt sluggish, and I experienced nausea even when there was nothing wrong. The most challenging part is when I'm preparing meals. The smell, especially when bread is baking, is unbearable. Ugh, I can't take it anymore. During cooking, I frequently had to rush to the bathroom. As a result, the quality and efficiency of my cooking naturally suffered compared to before. But no matter how much I tried to explain, my husband wouldn't forgive me at all. In fact, when I was retching in the bathroom, he said from behind,
Are you pretending to be sick again? I have work to do. Hurry up and prepare breakfast.
Sorry, but I just can't stand the smell of the bread.
I don't care. I'm not interested in your excuses.
I didn't mean it as an excuse.
What if your delays make me late for work? Can you take responsibility?
My husband continued to yell, completely disregarding my feelings, physically and emotionally. I felt increasingly cornered. I managed to hold back the nausea and finished preparing breakfast. However, my husband didn't touch his breakfast at all.
Oh no, because you are so slow, there is no time left for breakfast. You're really lazy, you know. At least handle the basics properly.
Saying that, he slammed the door shut. Why? I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just carrying our baby inside me. Why do I have to endure such harsh treatment? A mix of frustration and emptiness brought forth a never-ending stream of tears. These days continued for about 2 weeks. One day, after confirming that my husband had gone to work, I lay down. On this day, my condition was worse than usual, and no matter what I did, the nausea wouldn't stop. For the sake of our unborn child, I needed to eat something, but I would burn it just by drinking water. I had laid down and ended up falling asleep. When I woke up, it was already noon. I needed to eat something and take care of household tasks. As I was thinking this, my phone rang. The caller was my husband. With a sense of unease, I answered the call hesitantly. Hello?
You took a long time to answer. Don't tell me you were sleeping, right?
I'm sorry. I wasn't feeling well in the morning, and I was planning to do the household chores now. To be honest, when I admitted this, my husband sighed and hung up the call. Shortly after, I received a message from him on WhatsApp.
I almost shouted at work, so I hung up the phone. Seriously, do you have no respect for me?
The message exuded intense anger, and I felt a deep sense of fear from his furious tone. My hand holding the smartphone trembled slightly. I'm sorry. I will do better, so please don't be angry anymore.
I'm done. I've had enough of you.
And then, the WhatsApp messages stopped. What should I do? I need to reply somehow. But even if I apologize, I will just get scolded. So what should I do? While I was feeling flustered, my husband sent another WhatsApp message. The moment I saw the message, I accidentally dropped my phone on the floor.
If you can't even manage the household properly, then get rid of the child.
About the child? My vision went dark. My emotions were in turmoil. My breathing became irregular, and my heart raced. We had been blessed with our child, and I had thought it would bring us joy, and we could be a happy family. However, my husband not only failed to be happy, but also showed no understanding of my condition. Furthermore, to deny both me and the child in my womb like this, I won't forgive it. I can't stay silent in the face of something like this. I picked up the phone that had fallen to the floor. I understand. I sent in a message to my husband via WhatsApp. Then I packed my belongings and explained the situation to my parents, asked them to come pick me up. After returning home, my husband noticed that I was not there and received multiple missed calls from him.
Where are you? Avoiding housework? You are healthy enough to go out and have fun, so it was just a sham illness after all, huh? Hurry up and come home, otherwise, I will divorce you.
In this person only capable of blaming, threatening, and belittling. By this point, my love for my husband had already completely cooled. In the end, he even called my parents home, so I told him, I have no intention of coming back, and blocked his contact information. Eleanor, are you sure about this? At this rate, you might have to give birth alone. Worried about me, my mother came to visit, but I had already made up my mind. It's okay. I will protect this child. My mother had a complex expression on her face, but understood my decision. I will help with what I can. She said this to me. A few days later, my husband went out of his way to visit my parents because I had cut off all communication, and he brought his parents with him.
What on earth are you thinking? Instead of idling around at your parents' home, hurry up and come home.
As soon as he opened his mouth, my husband shouted at me. Even my in-laws joined in to blame me.
That's right. You as a wife should not abandon household chores and push everything onto our son. Are you still a housewife?
I never thought you were that kind of person, Eleanor. You're pretending to be someone else in front of us all this time? I don't need a lazy wife in this house. Abandoning household chores? Pushing everything onto others? Don't joke around. I'm not doing that. I retorted with a deep breath, almost spitting out my words. If only you'd listen quietly. Cut it out. When did I ever push anything onto William? When did I abandon household chores? Despite going through the difficulties of morning sickness, I pushed myself and did what I could. So why do I have to hear such things from you?
Be quiet. What kind of language is that to use against the head of the household?
That's the kind of thing I've always hated about you. I snapped at my husband loudly, baring my teeth. Once I started, I couldn't stop. When someone is suffering from morning sickness, you tell them to hurry up and make breakfast? Or don't slack off on household chores? I'm not your servant. Do you know how painful morning sickness can be? Study more about a pregnant woman's body. You good for nothing.
What kind of language is that to use against your husband?
In the end, you just don't understand people's feelings. You're not a dependable husband. I was mistaken to think that. So stupid of me.
Who do you think you owe your livelihood to?
Then I don't need that kind of life anymore.
What?
My parents-in-law, who had heard the argument, fearfully asked me,
Hey, weren't you imposing household chores on our son? And just lazing around without doing anything? That's right. Didn't you make our son do all the housework under the excuse of your pregnancy?
It seems my husband had been explaining things in a way that suited him. I told my in-laws the truth. Certainly, my morning sickness was severe, and there were times when I had to lie down. William told me that morning sickness isn't an illness and not to be cuddled. So I've been struggling to do the household chores every day. I did it to the point where I almost collapsed. My in-laws' faces turned pale.
Hey, William, what is going on here?
When my father-in-law confronted my husband, he visibly trembled.
Oh, well...
Even at this point, my husband refused to admit his mistakes. Frustrated, I decided to expose his most significant wrongdoing. Mom, Dad, your son told me that if I didn't do the housework, I should get an abortion. What?
Is that true, William?
My in-laws, shocked to their core, stared at their son with their mouths agape. The phrase "get an abortion" was clearly crossing the line. I believed I was doing what I could. However, William never considered my health. He denied our unborn child. It's impossible to live with someone like that. The anger of everyone present was directed at my husband. Perhaps, sensing the uncomfortable atmosphere, my husband nervously chuckled.
Okay, I get it. I was wrong. I will apologize, okay? So can we put an end to this discussion?
At that moment, crack, my mother-in-law landed a blow on my husband.
Oh, what are you doing?
My husband squinted at his mother.
Cut it out! Do you realize what a miracle it is to conceive a child? Do you understand? You've not only berated Eleanor, who is suffering from morning sickness, but you've also exploited her. On top of that, you lied to us. How much longer will you keep treating Eleanor as the bad one?
My mother-in-law yelled at my husband with tears in her eyes, and both my father-in-law and I couldn't do nothing but gasp in response. Then, my mother-in-law turned to me, lowering her head. Eleanor, I'm truly sorry. I believed that foolish son of mine and ended up hurting you. I know it's not something that can be forgiven, given what you have been through during morning sickness. But I'm truly sorry. My father-in-law also bowed deeply.
Eleanor, let me apologize as well. Our idiot son has caused a lot of trouble. We will make sure he takes responsibility. Leave the rest to us.
Then, my father-in-law turned to my husband.
You were disowned, William. What? Disowned? That's right. A son who'd casually tell his wife to get an abortion isn't part of our family. You're not part of our family. Agree to the divorce. We're a family, aren't we? Divorce and all this is going too far. Eleanor's feelings probably won't return. As a man, you should prepare yourself.
My husband was left speechless by his father's words. Although my husband was initially reluctant to sign the divorce agreement, with the cooperation of his parents, he eventually seems to accept it. He appeared completely dejected, like an empty shell. Later on, through a lawyer, I claimed alimony and child support from my husband. I made the decision to give birth to the child on my own. Afterward, my husband sent me several WhatsApp messages.
I was in the wrong. Please forgive me. I realize that there is no one else but you, Eleanor, for me. Please come back.
However, I discarded his messages without responding. It seems that my husband, who had severed ties with his parents, is living alone in a neglected house. His behavior is affecting the workplace too. And now, his colleagues are talking like this.
It seems his wife ran away from him, huh? His shirt is all wrinkled, and he hasn't even shaved. And on top of that, I heard his wife was pregnant. What a shame. He used to act so domineering until recently.
It seems my husband is constantly being made fun of at work, and day by day, he is losing his standing. I wonder how long his pride can endure in that environment. Well, it's no longer my concern. From now on, I want to prioritize my unborn child and our life together, even without a father. I want to make sure this child feels happy. I will give the child a lot of love.
What the heck? I thought it'd be a normal meal, but suddenly my vision started getting fuzzy. My stomach was in knots. I broke into a cold sweat, and I crumpled to the ground. My husband just sat there, no reaction. The last image I had was his smirk. Why? Why is he smiling like that? Did he? Drifting in and out, his voice broke through.
Finally, it's done.
I blacked out, not really getting his message. When I woke up, our relationship had shifted big time. My name's Kim, 30 years old. I majored in psychology in college and now work as a middle school counselor. Everyone's got some things they need to work on, whether it's big or small, no matter the age. Issues might seem tiny to one person, but huge to someone else, and the other way around. Back in college, I struggled mentally with social stuff, but found help with an amazing school counselor. She turned my life around, sparking a new dream in me. Before, I was aimless, but she inspired me to pursue counseling. I'm living that dream now and loving it. But it's not just the job. My husband, Dennis, adds to my happiness. We go way back to college days. We connected in a music club, got together at a reunion, and got married 3 years later. With our history, we're more friends than just a couple. He's always been my go-to guy. Now at 30 and married for 2 years, we're at the point of thinking about kids. But intimacy's been sparse lately, probably because he's been swamped with work. I can't let things slide. So, I brought it up. Hey, Dennis, there's something on my mind. Got a sec? I caught him on a Saturday night after he'd been working. He let out a sigh and responded.
What is it now?
I pushed past his tone. So, we're both 30, right? Don't you think we should talk about having kids?
Why now? I get back, beat from work, and this is what you hit me with?
I just thought we should chat about it.
Could you pick a better moment? Read the room.
I didn't mean to.
I'm not in the headspace for this conversation. Especially about this.
He cut the conversation short with a deep sigh and left the room. This has been his MO lately. We used to talk through anything, no matter how tired he was. But now, he's ducking these talks. I've noticed a shift in him over recent months. Maybe his work, taking up our together time, is the culprit. But my efforts to reconnect seem pointless if he doesn't meet me halfway. I do want kids. But first, we've got to be on solid ground. The following day, he didn't get out of bed until the afternoon. Once he finally showed up in the living room, I tried again. Look, I'm sorry about yesterday, but we've been drifting apart. I was hoping we could get back to spending quality time together. Like old times.
From kids to this? Can't you see I'm buried in work?
I know you're slammed. But working late every night and the weekends? It's a lot. Can't you clock out at a normal hour once in a while?
Man, you never let up. You get why I'm doing this, right? For us.
I'm grateful. Really, I am. But I'm working too. So you don't need to burn yourself out.
Enough. Let's shelf this for now.
With that, he snagged his wallet and phone and split. As the door shut behind him, I felt this tightness in my chest release, and the waterworks started. Why? Why is he acting this way? I just wanted us to get back to how things were. His words echoed in my head as I cried, the tears just pouring out. That day, I sobbed like I hadn't in ages, and it was just the start of a much bigger storm. Morning greetings? Gone. If I said dinner was ready, he'd bail. My attempt to bridge our gap had backfired. Instead of getting closer, we grew even more distant. One weekend, with him off working again, I was left to my own devices. I opted for a house cleanup. I tackled the living room, our bedroom, and then his room, which was a mess. As I cleaned up his junk, I spotted a weirdly colored receipt under his dresser. What's this? A receipt? It was greenish, and from a swanky French place I'd been raving about. I remembered that unique tinted receipt because someone posted about their dinner there online. Why did he have this? He never took me. The order was clearly for 2, maybe 3. I was sure he knew I wanted to have dinner there. Why keep it from me? A sinking feeling set in. Digging deeper, his trash yielded more 2-person dining receipts. He'd been eating out often, and clearly with someone he didn't want me to know about. The dates matched his late nights at work. Had he been lying? Maybe he was seeing someone and just using work as a cover. My head swirled with doubts and my heart felt heavy. I had to ask him. When he got in around 11 that night, I jumped right in. Are you seeing someone? His eyes went wide, but he quickly laughed it off, saying,
Seriously? You think I'm cheating? That's way out there.
Then, explain these receipts. They're all for 2. Who did you go out with?
Just a work buddy. I pick up the tab because they're junior to me.
Really?
Why would I lie? Cheat on you? Come on.
I hope that's true. His reaction felt off. Typically, he'd be upset. But now, he just gave a forced grin. He was up to something. So, I kept tabs on him. But he was on his toes, not slipping once. In fact, he flipped the script, acting super sweet, like in our early days.
Kim, how about dinner tonight? I'll be home early, and let's hang out Saturday. Remember that cake you love? Got one for dessert tonight.
It was like night and day from before. But his sudden niceness was Definitely because I'd called him out. He was hiding an affair. Catching him in the act, though, was proving tough. While I was mulling over my next move, he threw a curveball.
Our anniversary's Saturday, right? I've got it all covered. Let's make it special.
You're doing everything?
Yeah, I've been a pain recently. I'll take care of everything. Wine, snacks, the works.
That's sweet. But why the sudden plan?
Just want to show you I care. Is that okay?
I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling. Something felt off. To be on the safe side, I gave my folks a heads up, asking them to check in if they hadn't heard from me by Saturday night. Finally, our anniversary day came. Per Dennis's suggestion, I caught a movie after work. When I got back, the table was set with dishes and wine.
Welcome home, Kim. Everything's set,
he said, flashing an odd smile. I thanked him, but hesitated before sitting. The dishes smelled amazing, but I wasn't hungry.
Aren't you eating?
He asked, looking genuinely confused. I just shook my head. He smirked, then poured me a glass of wine.
Forget the food for now. Try this wine. Got it just for you.
Wait, the bottle was already open.
I opened it earlier to let it breathe. Go on, have a drink.
All right, thanks. It was strange how he kept pushing the wine. Suspicious, I faked a sip, then snuck a quick bite. Suddenly, everything went haywire. What the heck? I thought it'd be a normal meal. But suddenly, my vision started getting fuzzy. My stomach was in knots. I broke into a cold sweat, and I crumpled to the ground. And Dennis just sat there, no reaction. The last image I had was his smirk. Why? Why is he smiling like that? Did he? Drifting in and out, his voice broke through.
Finally, it's done.
What did he mean by done? What is he talking about? Desperate for answers, I tried speaking, but couldn't. He looked downright ecstatic, saying,
You can join me now. Just us. No more distractions. We're together forever. Yeah, I love you too.
In that moment, my love for him froze over. It clicked. He must have spiked the food. His plan was to harm me from the start. Before I could process this, darkness took over. Waking up, I found myself under a soft-hued ceiling. I heard my parents exclaim,
Kim!
Mom, Dad.
Thank goodness. We found you out cold.
We were so scared. Thanks for coming. Where's Dennis? They hesitated and looked to the side. I sat up, following my dad's gaze, and was shocked to see my injured husband beside an unknown young woman on the bed. My dad filled me in.
Dennis tried to land you in the hospital with something in that wine. The woman is his secret girlfriend.
The wine?
Yeah, doctors didn't find anything harmful in you. It seems you had a stress-caused ulcer.
So the sharp pain wasn't his doing?
No, just a strain of being with him. If you'd really drunk that wine, it could have been bad.
Why does he look so rough?
We got into it. Landed a couple on him. We're handing him to the cops soon.
As my dad spoke up, Dennis's face went ghost white. In a sudden bout of desperation, he dropped to his knees, begging my dad.
Hold on. Isn't getting the police involved a bit much? I mean, Kim's alright. Excuse me? We all know what you tried to pull on our daughter. Acting clueless won't cut it. She's been through hell because of you. We've got that wine as evidence. Hand that over, and you're toast. Hold on. If this gets out, I'll lose my job. My family will suffer. Not our problem. You teamed up with her,
pointing at the mistress,
and did this to our Kim. Unforgivable.
My rattled husband then looked at me, his eyes big and pleading like a puppy left out in the rain.
Please, I'll make it right. Name your price. So please.
I'd made up my mind. No room for leniency for a guy who couldn't even muster an apology. I shrugged him off and shot back. Your money? Not interested. An I'm sorry would have been a start. Knowing I didn't have a child with someone like you? Dodged a bullet.
Please, I'll apologize. Give me a chance.
Too late. Whatever you say, the ship's sailed. Face the music, you jerk. And I doubt there'll be a welcome mat waiting for you after you're done doing time.
No, help me out.
As Dennis pleaded, the cops my dad had called showed up and carted him and his lover off. They both ended up behind bars. He got fired, and I got a lawyer, filed for divorce, and claimed damages. Not sure how long he'll be locked up, but I'm betting there won't be a place waiting for him when he's out. Frankly, he brought this on himself. He's gonna pay for what he did. Meanwhile, I quit my job to steer clear of any reminders of my ex. Moved to a neighboring state and landed a gig as a hospital-based clinical psychologist. From here on, it's all about me. I owe a ton to my folks for having my back that day. My plan is to take care of my parents and live my days in peace. As I got closer to our place, I stopped cold. What the heck? I had just come back from my trip. The place should be empty, but there was a light shining from our bedroom. I was certain I locked up when I left. Why was there a light on? Could we have been robbed? The only ones with keys are Troy and me, and he's not due back for weeks. A rush of dread hit me, but I couldn't just stand there paralyzed. Doing nothing could cost me. I immediately dialed 911. Hello, officer. There's a light on in my place, but no one's supposed to be there. When the officers showed up, we cautiously entered, heading down the hall and flinging open the bedroom door. What met my eyes was the last thing I expected. My name is Amy. I'm 30, and I work at a big-time food company. A couple of years back, a product I pitched took off big time, and I just got bumped up the ladder. More work, for sure, but it felt good being someone the team relied on. Plus, the pay bump let me sock away more cash. I've always been a penny pincher, making every dollar count. And here's why. 3 years ago, I married Troy, and that was a game changer. Work used to be my whole world, but now it's all about family and home. I dream about having a kid and getting our dream house. But dreams aren't cheap. Realizing these dreams means being realistic about finances. We'd need money for children and a home. I wouldn't want our child to be deprived of experiences because of money. I want our kid to have the best of everything, trying out whatever they're into. It might be getting ahead of myself, but I can't help but plan for our future. When I got my promotion last year, the first person I rang up was Troy. He'd moved for his job about half a year before my big news. So I called him right away. "Troy, you won't believe it. I got that promotion."
No way. That's awesome.
"Yeah, and with the raise, we can stash even more for our future."
Guess I better up my game then.
Just keep an eye on that wallet. Even with distance between us, I can't help but worry about him. He can be a bit scatterbrained, especially when it comes to his stuff. He loses things, buys replacements without really looking, and then ends up with doubles. When we were living together, I could keep him on track. But now, it's tougher. He knows my dreams of kids and a home. And while I worry a little, deep down, I trust him. Fast forward about a year. Troy only makes it back to our place every few months. I'd love to see him more, but flights aren't cheap. This weekend, after a 2 months gap, he's back. I finished work early, cooked all his favorites, and just waited. Around 9 p.m., I heard the front door. I popped out of the kitchen to welcome him. And there he was, my Troy. "Look who's here." I dashed over, and he scooped me up, laughing.
Hey there. Missed me? I came straight from work.
"Aw, thanks."
Nah, got some sleep on the flight. Oh, I got you some chocolates. They're your favorite, right?
"Wow, thanks. I absolutely love them."
That's what I wanted to hear. Now, how about dinner? I'm starving here.
"I made all your favorites. Let's eat together." I grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the dining room. Seeing the feast laid out, his eyes lit up. We dove in, savoring every second of the reunion I've been waiting for. We chatted and enjoyed our meal together. After we ate, I let him hop in the shower first, thinking I'd go after. Once I finished up some chores and got to the bedroom, I noticed he quickly set his phone down, like he was trying to hide something. "What's up with the phone?" I asked, getting that uneasy feeling. But he just looked away. Then he snapped back to his normal self.
Wasn't trying to hide it. Just didn't want to be glued to it when you walked in.
"You didn't need to do that."
It's pointless to be on my phone when we finally get to be together. I want to make the most of our time.
"Look at you, being all sweet."
Hey, are you making fun of me? I was trying to have a moment here.
My bad. I really did appreciate it. I moved to snuggle up to him, but he caught my hand, saying,
We're both exhausted. Let's just crash.
and quickly went under the covers. I couldn't get another word out, just whispered night and lay down. I was hoping we'd have some quality time in the bedroom, especially since it had been ages since we'd been together. I mean, it was only 11 p.m., and we both had tomorrow off. He knows I've been wanting to start a family. Feeling a mix of emotions, I forced myself to drift off, tears slipping out, because it felt like I was the only one excited about our time. He stayed 2 nights, but there wasn't any spark, not even a hint of it. As he was heading out, promising he'd come back soon, I just blurted, "Do you not feel the same anymore?"
Where is this coming from?
You've been so distant, and I've been feeling alone.
I'm sorry. Work's just been a beast. I wanted to spend some time with you, just being together, you know?
I'm 30, Troy. We've talked about kids.
I gotta go, or I'll miss my flight. We'll chat later,
He said, darting out before I could say anything. Normally, I'd drive him to the airport, but not this time. Our communication dwindled from that point. I'm sleepy, and I have to get up early tomorrow, were his favorite excuses when trying to evade the kid and house talk and hang up. It was obvious that we weren't on the same page anymore. After that, we barely spoke. In the midst of all this, my job ramped up with a 3-night, 4-day work trip on the horizon. As I was packing, Troy called. He usually texts, so this was out of the blue. Excitedly, I picked up. "Hey, what's going on?"
You've got that business trip tomorrow, right? For 3 days?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Normally, it's just overnight. But this one's a biggie, huh? The company must really be counting on you. Good for you.
Thanks. I hope so. But why the call about the trip?
I just wanted to say knock him dead. I know it'll be tough, but don't work too hard.
Aw, thanks. It was good hearing from you. Feeling a little brighter after our chat, I went back to packing, feeling uplifted by his kindness. I attacked my business trip with a new zeal. Maybe it was Troy's call giving me a boost, but I wrapped things up faster than expected and got home a day ahead of schedule. I was in the mood to relax back home after wrapping up my business trip early, maybe even share a drink with my husband on Zoom. So, on my way, I swung by a store to pick up my go-to beer and some munchies. Though I was worn out from the trip, I felt a spring in my step heading back. I need to ring him up and say, "Your call gave me the push I needed." It might also be a good time to dive back into our chat about kids and our future place. While making my way home, I started drafting a text to him. But as I got closer to our place, I stopped cold. What the heck? I had just come back from my trip. The place should be empty, but there was a light shining from our bedroom. I was certain I locked up when I left. Why was there a light on? Could we have been robbed? The only ones with keys are Troy and me, and he's not due back for weeks. A rush of dread hit me, but I couldn't just stand there paralyzed. Doing nothing could cost me. I immediately dialed 911. "Hello, officer. There's a light on in my place, but no one's supposed to be there."
All right, ma'am. Can you give me your address?
"Sure, it's..." A cop showed up in no time. I quickly filled him in, and we both made our way to the apartment. My heart was racing as we inched down the hallway. We reached the bedroom door, and after a brief look at each other, he burst in.
What the?
"Huh?" Both of us were taken off guard. Because right there, in all his glory, was my very naked husband.
What the? Why are you here, Amy? And is that a cop? What's happening?
He looked totally caught off guard, still standing there with nothing on. The cop seemed a bit embarrassed, obviously waiting to see my next move. I managed to say, "Why are you here early? Weren't you coming back next month?"
I got a break. But why are you here? Weren't you returning from your trip tomorrow?
Wrapped up ahead of schedule. Is that an issue?
No, it just caught me off guard. Thought I'd surprise you.
Oh, is that so? Then who's that under the covers? When we entered, I had spotted a face peeking out from the covers, likely belonging to a woman I didn't know. She probably assumed she was hidden because she hadn't budged. But I saw her. My husband, clearly flustered, tried to play it cool. Anger bubbled up inside me. You think you can just laugh this off? How much more are you planning on playing me for a fool? I won't forgive you for this. You won't just brush this one under the rug. Without waiting, I pushed past him and yanked the covers away. There was a faint "ugh" from behind me. Uncovered was a young woman. Who the hell are you? I demanded, my voice icy. The woman, her face pale, wouldn't meet my eyes and said nothing. Perhaps she hoped that staying silent about being the other woman might diffuse the situation. With the evidence right in front of me, both of them exposed, I quickly took out my phone and took photos. They tried to cover up, but it was too late. I also shot a video for extra evidence. The cop, who was still there, looked pretty taken aback by my actions. I then turned to him and said, "Could you get her out of here? She's a stranger in my home. Isn't this a form of trespassing?"
But she's with your husband, right?
This apartment's in my name, and I have no clue who she is. Please, escort her out. I held my ground. The officer, although reluctant, did as I asked. He waited for the woman to get dressed and then let her out. Troy, pale and looking rattled, tried to explain.
Amy, this isn't what it looks like. There's a reason.
He started to reach out, maybe thinking a hug might somehow fix things. I snapped. Who does he think I am? I whacked his arms, reaching me, glared at him and said, "So what now? You thought some sweet talk would make it all better? Is that why you were secretive with your phone? Is that why you kept your distance? Because of her?"
No, I felt alone being so far away and ended up on a dating app and,
Save your lame excuses. You thought you could play me? I'll make sure both of you pay for this. And you, pack your stuff and leave. Now. Like I said before, this apartment's mine. I had it before we got married. Frustrated with Troy's reluctance to get moving, I reached out to his parents. After filling them in, they showed up, and to my surprise, they brought divorce papers with them. His dad let him have it, and made him sign the papers right then and there. Troy was a mess, trying to hold on but I was done. His folks took him back to their place. I filed the divorce papers right away and even got an attorney to secure alimony. Last I heard, Troy's living with his folks, working non-stop at a factory run by a family friend. All the money he makes goes straight to his parents, and he doesn't have a dime or any freedom to his name. As for me, I use the alimony to kickstart a new chapter in a place close to work. Only my parents know where I'm at, so I doubt I'll bump into Troy. From here on out, it's just me. It's a little lonely, but I'm calling the shots now. I'll treat myself right and look forward to better days ahead.